The Fly Fifer Podcast. Let's talk. Your chat, your way.
Now I'm laughing because I'm sat with my mother today, and this will be a fucking challenge. See, we've not even started. She's off. Anyway, Mum,
I'm off.
Anyway, Mother, welcome to the show. This is the Fly Fifer Podcast.
Well, stop laughing, James.
I'm trying to, but with fucking tears running into my face. Anyway, trying to be professional. Alan and I thought it'd be a good idea for you to chat on the podcast. And I've been wanting...
Oh, well, wait till I see Alan.
And I've been wanting you to do it for a while, so it's good that you're here doing it. Because I wanted to talk about your life, because I think you've got an interesting life, Mum, and it's hard for me to try, because you don't know nothing about what I've been doing for the last few months, unless you've been watching it. Have you been watching it?
Nope.
No. Right. So Alan and I have been doing a podcast for months now, just about a year, and we've took a break for the last 3-4 months because I've had bother with cameras and stuff like that. But what we've been doing with these podcasts, it's about helping people. Trying to help people with the problems Alan's had in his life, other guys have had in their lives, try to get people to talk about it so that maybe they didn't make the same mistakes that we all did. Because we're all older now, we're all in our 40s, late 40s, 50s. So talking to yourself, who's, can I say how old you are? Has just turned 80, 40 again. And I always wanted to talk to you and record a bit about your life on camera so that it's there for the family to see. Maybe, if you allow it, that's the thing. And it's maybe, I didn't want to go too deep into your personal life because some things you just didn't want to talk about on camera or share with the world. But I think there's quite a lot of things happen to you in your life that would benefit others to say, well, look at me now. You know what I mean? That was then, this is now. And it's self-help, getting folk to help themselves through struggles in life and things like that. So, Mother darling, let's go back to the very beginning. Where did it all start for Jean? Jean or McHugh? Or was it? No, tell us then.
Jane Johnson, McHugh.
Jane Johnson McHugh. Where were you born?
Glasgow.
Aye.
And
just move your mouth a wee bit closer to that.
White Inch.
Just talk into that like you're talking.
And White Inch, say.
Glasgow? White Inch, Glasgow.
Uh-huh.
Right. And what was life like as a bairn in White Inch in Glasgow?
Well, we stayed in a tenement. Not an awful big house. My mother and my father worked. My mother didn't, but she'd had a child before me, who she lost. She had me. God help her because I'm still here. And then there was a brother came after me, and he died also at the age of 7. So my mother never really got over the deaths of my siblings, and she lived on her nerves quite a bit. But my father was absolutely brilliant. I couldn't ask for a better one. Couldn't ask for a better mother, to be honest with you either, but she had her problems as well with nerves and things. But
so the two siblings, the one prior, I don't think I've ever heard you talk about the one before you, but I've heard you talk about Jim.
Sarah.
Was Sarah as well? How bizarre, eh?
Her name was Sarah. I'm not 100% certain because it was something that my parents didn't talk about. That I heard anyway. It was she died, and I'm not 100% certain of what, but I knew it was very early on.
Right.
More or less within a couple of days of being born.
Right.
My brother, though, who was also James.
Aye. That's who I'm named after, isn't it?
Yes, it is. He died of leukemia at the age of 7.
Right.
But that's really, my mother obviously got worse then, although she was able to function. I mean, she wasn't on pills or anything like that. I mean, she was able to function well enough, but everything was all done in a rush, if you know what I mean. Because of her nerves, it had to be, the house had to be this way, we had to be, she kept us.
It was house proud sort of thing.
Yes.
Maybe what they call nowadays anxiety. It was nerves back then on your...
It was, but she was able to function, and she brought us up well, fed us well. My dad worked in a place called Giant Hall, which was in the same street as we lived, in Byron Street. And he worked, and in the days they worked Christmas Day. You know, they worked every day God sent, actually, in the days. Eventually it got better, he got time off. He moved to different places to work. But that's where, but as I say, been brought up as a Glaswegian, I couldn't ask for being brought up in a better place.
Better place,
because the people were great.
Right.
The neighbours were fantastic. And we ended up, it was a big family of us. We moved first of all to Drumchapel.
Yeah. Name the family, just...
Oh, there was, you meaning it from the very first?
My aunties, uncles.
Alive.
Either or.
It started with Sarah, who died.
Yeah.
Then there was myself. Then there was James, who also died at the age 7. We had, my dad was in the Navy, and my brother and sister were born 4 years after me. But bear in mind, there was a brother in between us.
In between,
that was twins, Anne and John. They were a handful. Anne, being the bossy one, John couldn't even get a biscuit, but she stole it. She had, if John had something and wanted it, and got it, poor John just sat, and he's told, to this day, he's still the same. He's just a quiet,
skinny wee guy.
That's right. And he's used to the whole lot. No wonder, because he'll be undernourished slightly because of that. Anyway, we had a good life. We didn't have a lot of holidays or anything like that. We then moved to Drumchapel because obviously there was houses there. We were in a room and kitchen to start.
How many were in there?
Well, by that time then there would be me and John and Billy.
Right. In a 1-bedroom.
Betty was born then as well, so there was 5 years.
Right.
But Betty would be the baby. We moved up to Drumchapel, and well, as 3 girls stayed in the one room. My 2 brothers was in the other, and obviously my mum and dad had the other room. But it was marvellous because we had bedrooms. Right. My mother had to go out to work because she was she wanted furniture coming for a room and kitchen.
Ah, right, coming for a room and kitchen at Drumchapel to having rooms.
To having 3 bedrooms plus a living room plus toilet. I should say, while we were in the tenement, we had to go down to the toilet.
Was the toilet at the bottom of the stair or something in tenements back then?
Well, we were in the top flat, so we had to go down a flight of stairs to our toilet. And God help us if the man was on the Guinness the night before.
So was that like a communal toilet on each level?
On each level,
Right.
So, and it was wee scraps of newspaper that hung on the back of the door to wipe your backside with. There was no toilet
luxuries
rolls in the days. And then we got introduced to San Isel. Well, it was a waste of time having that because it was shiny stuff.
Oh, the shiny. Is that the stuff they used to have in schools when we were kids?
When we were kids.
Diesel.
San Isel. So, anyway, we moved to the Glasgow house, and my mother had took a work in a part-time. My dad would come in for work, my mother would go to work and work in a biscuit factory. This is how she got her furniture for the bedrooms and everything. Because at one time, the 4 years, well, we were all bairns. I mean, it didn't matter then, did it?
Right.
We were all top to tail. Betty had a cot, but Anne, myself, John and Billy, they were all in the same bed. The boys would be at the bottom, the lassies at the top, and we had no central heating, nothing.
But you all grew up and have all had families.
We've all had families. We've all got good families. Families are all got good jobs. In my case, there's grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
That's now, but let's hang about when you were growing up. What sort of, like you've the family life and that, moving to Drumchapel, what sort of achievements did you get in your life? You know, what sort of things were you into?
Sport.
Aye, yeah.
I could do anything really, but I couldn't swim professionally, although I done swimming, but I was an athlete.
Right.
And I used to win all the prizes at school. In these days, the schools done things like that. They had you in the playground and you raced against, none of the lassies would race against me because I beat them. So I had to race against the boys, and I beat them too. So I was quick. So my dad got me put into a club, and I done athletics, and we went to places like the Noon and all the Highland Games and things like that. But while at school, I had got all the prizes for running. I could do the high jump, long jump. I done everything like that. While I was at school, that was it. I stayed with the Clydesdale Harriers up until I was 17 and I met my first husband.
Jordy.
At least said, easier forgotten. Which wasn't a happy. We ended up getting married. It wasn't a happy marriage, but I had 4 children.
To George. I'm one of them.
So,
and my
life it wasn't all bad, but unfortunately,
the George part of it.
It was.
So you're still in Glasgow. You're still doing your running and everything. And I'm just thinking, I'm just trying to piece that bit of your life. So you go from all the running, sort of still at school, and then get to that age where you're leaving school. And then did you keep running, or did you have to go working, or? I
had to work.
Were you working and running, or did that just stop with school?
I didn't get paid for running.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't anything like that. Although I was good, while I was at school, this is something, my dad, we didn't have a lot of money, so I was going to be put against other schools. And of course, my school was going on a school trip. And one of the boys in the school was in a running club as well, and he had spikes.
Oh, and he's
running shoes.
Right.
And I didn't have them. And so the school wanted me to go and run for them, so I didn't go on the trip. And my dad gave the boy, I think it was 50 pence or £1, money anyway, to lend me
running
spikes,
shoes.
Which was a couple of sizes too big for me. And I was running with paper in the toes. However, I won that day.
Yeah.
I did. So, and then I done, it was all inter-schools, it was all inter-schools. And we did do a few, but it was sort of like with the schools, it was like once a year. You didn't go like to this school one day, and it was all the schools at the Scots and Showgrounds. That's what they were called at the time in Glasgow. It's now I think they do quite a lot of
rugby and everything like
things
that. Like that.
They do rugby,
still all in there,
and it's not like what it was when.
Back then.
When anything, it's all modernised and lovely now. So they do a lot more things there. They actually have a swimming pool there that I never had before.
That's right.
So things like that. Then it was a woman that stayed up here close who knew somebody else that says, why do you not put her into a sports club? So she knew whoever it was and went and spoke to the person and says, send her along. So I went along. I had the Scottish coach doing, not just me,
Aye.
There was more than me getting, but we got trained by the Scottish Coats a
Right.
couple of times. But then I started getting fed up.
Right.
I preferred to go to the dancing
The dancing.
and start running, which I've always loved,
Aye.
dancing.
But that's just true. So many of us, so that you grow up and you're all good at this and good at that, and then you get to that age where you're going out with your pals, and the dancing would have been a natural
That's
thing.
right.
It's like me with the things that I did, and then you met all your pals, and you just go and do what you do with your pals instead of
Well, that's right.
the hobbies that you followed as a kid. So you did that, and then you started going to the dancing, and is this like 16, 17, 18, or what age are you at this point?
I left school at 15. I
Right.
did go right enough because I started working in a place called Hunter Bar on
Right.
Queen Street, and I worked in the returns department where they sent, it was like a big warehouse.
Uh-huh.
It sent, like online shopping now.
Nowadays, aye.
Nowadays, it wasn't like that in my day, but stuff got sent out. People ordered stuff, it got sent out. I was in when they sent it back.
Right.
I done that. And I worked there for a while. In fact, I worked there while I was doing my running
Right.
and everything. And then I worked in C&A's,
Uh-huh.
but my dad wasn't we left there and went to C&A's. My dad wasn't keen for me to work on a Saturday.
Right.
He says if you worked Monday to Friday, it was enough for a
It was
woman.
enough, aye.
So therefore, I left C&A's and went into a biscuit factory, which I hated.
Hated. What
I
biscuit
hated it.
factory was it? McVitie's?
No,
No.
it was actually what's known UCBS was the name of it, but it was
Right.
the actual cooperative biscuit
All
factory.
right.
So therefore, after that, I became a machine operator.
Uh-huh.
But when I went there at first, I was too posh.
You were too posh.
I was too posh, believe it or not. I was too posh.
So coming from Clydebank, Drumchapel, or what was it, Whiteinch?
White inch.
Whiteinch, Drumchapel, you were
It
still
was-
too posh.
It was the way I was brought up.
Ah, right.
Some of them were brought up, and there were a lot of, no everybody, but there was quite a few that were quite hard
Hard.
cases.
Aye.
And the women that thought I wasn't cut out for that kind of job.
Right.
So therefore, she put me up into the top flat and made me a machine operator, which was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved it, in fact. And I got friendly with this lassie. And believe it or not, I was 15, maybe. And this lassie was coming up for 21.
Right.
And I thought that was a wonderful age.
Right.
Still do right enough. I'd like to go back the way. So she says to, and it was her, says to me, why do you not come to the dancing? I go to the town hall, Clydebank Town Hall. And I says, oh, my mother and father will not let me go to the dancing. So anyway, I didn't get to go when I was 15, but then I started telling lies and I went to pictures. But I wasn't at the pictures, I was at the dancing. And I had to run for the bus because if I didn't get the bus home when they thought I should have been out the pictures,
Aye.
I got a row. My dad or my mother would be standing at the window
Waiting on you coming
waiting
in.
on me coming in. They'd know because they'd be able to see the bus passing. She must be off this one.
Aye.
And we'll be tied if I wasn't.
Aye.
But being such a good runner, I missed the bus one night.
You ran home.
No, I didn't run home. I ran right up this place called Kilbowie Road, right up, and I, believe it or not, I caught the bus
All right.
after running up that hill because I was feared not to.
Fair enough. Aye.
But
So that's a young sort
that's
of.
a young. I went then through the biscuit factory to work for Singers.
Aye.
Singers.
Is that at
That was in
Clydebank?
Clydebank. Yeah.
Aye.
It's a famous place with Singers because during the war, Singers was rashed to the ground.
Right.
It was all rubble, all the houses round about it and everything like that. So I don't know whether the actual year that Singers was built,
Right.
but it might not have been during the war. It may have come after the war
After. Right.
because it was a great big building with a clock and everything. So it's kind of, you would have thought if the houses were all raised to the ground,
As a factory, that would have been.
a factory,
aye.
it would have been.
Just in
because
case it was
believe or
making
not,
bomb
we were
parts.
near, in Clydebank, they had the shipbuilding.
Aye.
They had the John Brown's it was called.
Singers would have been a target in case they were making parachutes.
And no, it was actually sewing things for sewing. They were building
Sewing machines. Aye.
with a treadle and
So it's
everything.
maybe after then.
So I think that sewing machine place. I mean, sewing machines were going for years, but I would imagine the state that Clydebank was in. Yeah, I can't because obviously I was born during the war.
Right.
I wasn't born before the war or anything like that, but it was actually. So I can't imagine that huge big building, and I mean it was huge.
So it wouldn't have
Loads of
survived.
ground. It would never have survived because the houses across the road were all flattened.
So it's been rebuilt.
It must
the
have been
regeneration
rebuilt.
work.
Must have been. So that was me. I got married, and then I had your sister Yvonne.
So before you go into having all yours, how did was it the dancing that through the dancing, gone to the dancing? At what age, sort of between 15 and 20 or something? When did you meet Geordie, for instance? Is that how you met him?
I was 17, yeah.
Is that how you met him, through going to the dancing?
He was a good dancer.
Aye.
I met him. I met some beauties.
You would do.
I met some crackers. It was good. It was good at the time.
Yeah.
Went with George quite a while before we actually got married.
Aye.
I really don't want to get into the reason. I wasn't pregnant or anything. I was never anything like that.
But what was his deal? Was it the gift of the gab? Was he just good dancer, nothing else? Just a good dancer.
Just a good dancer.
Aye.
But he never got on with anybody.
Right.
You know, sometimes we had to leave the dancing because he would maybe give somebody a bad look or something like that. And
right.
so I got kind of fed up. And then he never turned up for me one night, and I went away on my own.
Right.
And my pals, I went to my pals, and my pal's brother walked me home that night,
Right.
and he was wanting me to go with him. But my mother had been at the window, because he was in a bus uniform, he was too old for me, so he got the heave home.
He got the heave.
I didn't even know what the boy's age was, but he walked me home. Where she stayed, which was pretty damn decent to him. Like. So anyway, the window got opened and Jane, I had to go up the stairs. What an embarrassment it was.
I'll bet.
So the dancing and my running was my main
thing is when you were young.
And eventually I gave up because the dancing, we were having to go away on a Saturday to different places, to all where they have the Highland Games and things like that. We were going to all these things, and it just got to the stage where
preferred the dancing.
The dancing. I'll be home in time for the dancing if you're in the noon or whatever.
Time you got home, you'd miss half it.
Places, Rothsay and places like that. Went everywhere there was Highland Games. But that's more or less my young life. I had plenty of pals, and I had went with this boy called Danny McLaughlin, and but again he didn't go to the dancing,
right?
Or else
maybe he wasn't allowed to go.
No, he was older than me.
Oh, right.
I mean, he was. Wait a minute. I was only 15. Just started. I was only 15 when I met him, and I'd had a boyfriend at school, and we'd went to go to one of my pals' boyfriend's party. His mother always had a party, had us all in and everything like that. Looked after us well and everything. So I fell out with this boy, and as I was going up the street, this Danny McLaughlin was standing at the corner, and he says, "Is this you off to the party?" And I says to him, "You know going?" He says, "No," he says, "I haven't got a partner." I says, "I'm going and I've not got a partner." So him and I went together.
Aye, perfect.
And he wanted to get me to get engaged, but I was too young.
Too young again. Mm-hmm.
So again, then
he got the heave-ho.
Aye, because he wouldn't go to the dancing. So that was it. I wasn't allowed to go to big dancing. Like I wasn't out there. Glasgow, there was the F&F ballroom, there was Locarno, and there was one a wee further out that I can't remember. Oh, Barrowland.
Barrows, aye, Barrowland.
Barrowland, but I wasn't allowed to go to that one.
Mhm.
I didn't actually ever go to any of the big halls
Right.
like that. It was just
Aye,
that
too
time
much.
I had met George, and I wasn't allowed.
Aye. Was that weren't they allowed through meeting George at this point?
No.
No, through
My parents
Granny,
wouldn't allow me
Granda.
to go.
Aye,
Aye.
right.
They wouldn't allow me to go.
So fast
And then-
forward a wee bit then to the George years, if you like.
Oh God, they were the horrendous.
I mean,
18 years
aye,
I was married to him,
aye.
and
So what age was that you used to got married way back?
18 I was.
18. Right,
He was 2.5 years older.
right. She's 21.
But
See, but going by this day and age and that day and age, you were a lot more sensible probably, but at the same time too young. Yeah,
too
just
young.
the same as
Far,
I was.
far too young.
Far too young.
But
at that age.
He was always a womanizer.
Right.
He was a womanizer, and if things didn't go right for him when he was out,
Uh-huh.
I got it when he come back.
Right.
I've been dragged out my bed. Fish suppers rammed into my face and in my hair.
How early was all that happening? When once you've got married and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's no two ways about it. My biological father was an abusive wife beater.
That's
Just
right.
for everybody to know, and you were my mum that suffered at the hands of him. How early was it when all that nonsense started?
Started.
Aye.
Oh, it didn't start long after we were married.
Right, but nothing to give you any warning signals up
Nothing
until
at
that
all.
ring on the
Up-
finger sort of thing.
Up until I got married. to
Perfect
that
gentleman, normal
My pal
life.
got married 6 months later, and I caught him in the kitchen. We went back after the wedding. We went all pals went back, and I caught him in the kitchen with another woman.
Right.
And
6 months after you got married.
after I get married,
Right.
Aye.
Wow.
So, and that was my life with him.
Right.
There was more women. He had more women than he had out dinner. To eventually, at 35-year-old, I thought I can't take this any longer.
So where are you at this point?
this-
You're down here at this
We're
point
down
in
here
Fife,
at
aye.
this point in Fife.
So you're still in
But you were
Glasgow then?
born
Aye. Let's
in
go back to
in
the
Glasgow.
So
In
all that
Glasgow.
starts 6 months after you're married,
Uh-huh.
and you're what age are you here? 18, something? Did you say?
18 when I married
When I
him.
married him, so 6 months after that, he starts knocking about or trying to or doing what he does.
Oh, aye, but there
or
was more
did.
than that.
Aye,
No.
more than that probably.
I got
When was Yvonne born in that then?
1962.
Right,
We were married in 61, I think it was.
right. So Yvonne comes a year later.
She was, I was 18 months married, I think,
Uh-huh.
when I actually had Yvonne, when Yvonne was born.
So when would you say the violence started with him then? So that's 6 months he's knocking about with other women, you find out about it. You're still with him, you're still in Glasgow, wherever you were
He
living.
didn't fall out. It was just the drink. Was his
Ah.
patter.
Right.
His patter was just the drink. It wasn't anything. It was just, so we've thinking that.
So it's alright, I was drunk, I can go chat
He
up
went-
whoever I wanted.
He went on,
Aye.
his place closed down
Uh-huh.
where he was working, and he went on the buses.
Right.
Of course, there was conductresses and all that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Jim, this is terrible telling folk.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's
Yeah.
just, we're just mapping the story of your life, that's
It's,
all. I mean, the thing is, this might be happening to somebody now that can even relate to your story for 50 years ago. You know,
it's a terrible, terrible life, because you know, and you don't know what he's bringing into your house.
right.
With all the women. that
Well, the
are going with
women,
and things like that.
aye.
And I had wee lasses
Yep.
to, in case, I'm not saying it would do,
Aye,
didn't
aye.
think that for a minute.
No,
I
no.
never think for a minute he would have done that,
No,
touched him or anything like that. No way would he have done that.
no.
The thing is, he took
I think
his
you'd have got to
anger-
jail early on.
well, he took the violence out in me.
Aye,
But one thing I can honestly say, he never ever hit any of you.
aye. So what was the first time he lifted a hand to you? What was it? Was there a reason for it? Was it just he was out pissed, drinking?
No, well, it was New Year time.
Right.
He hit me with an axe.
The very, very first time.
Not the very first
No,
time
I'm
he'd
going-
hit me before.
Go right back to
I
the
can't remember
first
all the
time.
things.
Aye.
There was so much badness. Lorraine was 2, for instance,
Right.
and he'd come home, and we stayed in Carrollside Drive, was the name of the place in Drumchapel,
Drumchapel, right.
and Yvonne and Lorraine was the only 2 that I had then,
That's right.
and he took a knife to me,
Right.
and the bairn was hanging on to his leg, Lorraine. She
Lorraine.
was 2, and put the knife down, Daddy, put the knife down, Daddy, and it was her that stopped me forgetting,
Aye.
because when he took the drink, he was out his head with drink. I mean, I think there had to be a problem there,
Aye.
other than drink.
That's why they call it the demon drink, because it's not actually the person. It's some form of the person that's
So
comatose
anyway,
with alcohol.
Aye.
Yeah.
He was so thingy. Then, as I say, we were in Carrollside Drive, and Michelle was born there.
Uh-huh.
And your Uncle Billy started dating a lassie on what they called, it was Scheme 1, 2 and 3.
Scheme 1, 2 and 3. Scheme
Aye.
life again, eh?
So your Uncle Billy's girlfriend was in Scheme 1, and we stayed in Scheme 2.
Aye.
I could look across a big field and I could see Scheme 1.
Right.
But obviously I couldn't make out who the folk
Who
were
was,
or anything like that. And Yvonne took ill.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the measles, but she took a right bad dose. And your Uncle Billy had been out with Margaret, and he'd come back, and Geordie hadn't come in, and I didn't know, because Yvonne was ill. But I had the other 2. I had Michelle by this time. I had the other 2, so I couldn't leave. I didn't have a phone or anything to get in. Eventually, I actually left the bairns and went down to the phone box to phone my dad and says, well, it was the following morning. Yvonne had took well the night before. And I went down and I phoned my dad. I says, Dad, could you come up? I'm needing to get Yvonne something sorted for Yvonne, I says, because she's really not well. But Geordie's never come in. He never come in all night. And the reason he didn't come in was because the girlfriend that he was knocking about with then stayed round the corner for your Auntie Margaret, and they all had balconies. This is your Uncle Billy's girlfriend.
Aye.
And they were out in the balcony at her house, the veranda. At her house. And him and his girlfriend were stoning what they called in Glasgow then was winching. Winching at a hedge.
Right.
And I says to my dad, and my dad says, all right, hen, I'll be up there now. And when they come up, my mother was with him, and your Auntie Betty. And he says, it's all right. He says, Billy caught him with a girlfriend.
A girl, aye.
So my mother, Margaret, told us where it was, where she stayed and everything. So I says, oh, I'm going round. I'm not having this. So I went round but he never came in. He ran away.
Aye.
I went round to her door and I knocked on the wife's door. My mother and my sister stayed a couple of stairs down. And I says, is the person's name, I don't know why I mentioned her name, is she in? No, she's not. Just at that, the toilet door opened, which was facing the outside door, and out she walked. And who's looking for me like? I says, me. She says, and you are? And I says, tell him. I says, George Baptiste's wife.
Right.
And the mother was stood back like that. She didn't know what to say. She says, he told me he wasn't married.
What you would do.
Probably. And the woman says, he's been here, sitting as nice as night. She says, we've had him here for his dinner and everything. This was the lass's mother. Nice as night. And she says, well, he's got 3 lassies are there. So the woman, the girlfriend, she went, I brought my wee boy a beautiful big Easter egg. I says, well, your wee boy's lucky. I says, I've got 3 wee lassies sitting out there and never even get a square of chocolate. And I just about turned. I says, but you're welcome to him. And I about turned and walked away. he came home that next day.
Right.
The very next day, like it was a Sunday. And he, apologies. His house, I
Right.
couldn't stop him from coming in.
Right. That's how it was back then, eh?
That's how it was. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. So that's how I lived. We were poor, really poor. We had a telly. Oh, we had a telly. But you had to put money in the back of it.
Right.
He was robbing that.
Oh.
He was robbing
To drink
the thing.
or what?
To gamble. He was a gambler as well.
Right.
And he actually was doing these things. But when the people came to the door, it was me that faced the people and had to say, well, you know, I don't know how many tellies we got taken off.
Taken off you.
I mean, it's funny. It's not. I shouldn't really be putting this on.
It doesn't
you
matter.
know,
Christ almighty,
we
nowadays.
had nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Aye.
We just gambled it, drank it, and then.
But you stayed because there was
I
no
can't
real
help it.
option, I guess. You
There
were
wasn't.
married to him, you were.
Till I come to Fife.
Right. So, Glasgow, still with George. You just come to Fife. How? What brought you? What was
He decided that he was coming here. I think there was too much pressure on him with all these people.
Right.
I don't know if he'd been with married women or
Right,
what,
right.
but there was a lot of pressure, and he decided.
Maybe shot too many times on his own doorstep, sort of thing.
And he decided then that he would come here to work. So I'll give him his due. He brought me down here the first time he had applied. He had a job and everything, and I come down here and I went, I'm not staying here. Because they took me down, and being used to shipyards
Aye.
and shipbuilding where there was constant noise of riveters and things like that. I went down to the dockyard gates and I could not believe there wasn't a sound.
Right.
Not a sound. And years ago there was this thing on the telly and we were off here to it because it was called the Quatermass Experiment.
Right.
And it was doing things with people and it was all quiet and everything because they were taking people and doing the... However, that's what the dockyard put me in mind and I says, I'm not coming here.
The Quatermass
Quatermass
Experiment.
Experiment.
Right.
And so I wouldn't come, and then there was another incident with a woman, and he says to me, look, this wouldn't have happened if we'd have went down to Fife. Now we came to Fife, who was, but at the time, was full of clubs. Where they're drinking, gambling, dancing, you name it. I'm left with bairns. He's out every weekend, and this is what he was doing. There was other women, constantly. So when I couldn't do anything about it.
Yep.
But then he used to start thinking to himself he was a runner.
Right.
He ran away from everything.
For everyone.
He ran away from everything because when things started getting too tight for him, he went into the Merchant Navy.
Right.
And one time I was thinking and happened to go underneath Yvonne's cot. Or Michelle's cot it would be.
Aye.
And here was a case all packed,
Ready to go.
He had joined
Right.
a Merchant Navy ship and he was going to go away with it.
No even tell you.
We were here by then.
Aye, you're living down here.
We were living down here.
Was that about by then? No, not yet.
No, we stayed in King's Road at that time.
Right.
So anyway, I thought so I phoned the dockyard, found out that he left here. So I knew somebody, I can't mind who it was, and I went and I spoke to them. They says, he's away in the Merchant Navy. I says, is he? So then I had to do something about it.
Right.
Terrible, terrible, terrible times. We left. No, we left King's Road and went to. Keep forgetting.
Selvish Street?
No. That's you were born in Selvish Street. Well, you weren't born in it.
Oh, the other one. I know what you mean. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You went to another house in Rosyth. Aye.
And we were there, and I fell pregnant with you in that house.
So what was he doing? Was he backwards and forwards with the Merchant Navy at this point?
I fell pregnant. He came back and I fell pregnant with you. And the house that we were in Newton Crescent,
it was
needing renovated.
Right.
So they were putting me up in Selvage Place.
Mm-hmm.
And when I seen Selvage Place, I thought, it had all been done. I thought, look, by the time you do that, I'm can't mind how many months pregnant. Can I not get this house? So they let me get that house.
Right.
So that was it. Then he started, he was going through all the clubs and everything like that.
Yeah.
And the fists were going long before that, but it got worse.
Worse.
Because he was meeting women of things. If they went away with this, there were certain women in Rosyth that, you know, so if he was going with the likes of them, then that's when I started to worry.
Right.
But it was coming home, and if things didn't go right, or the lassies went away with somebody else and bombed him out, he used to come home and take it and me and back at me. Whether I was in my bed or no, doing nothing. He accused me of going with men. But this time, I was about 16 stone.
Right.
I couldn't do anything because I had no self-esteem.
Right.
All I done was eat. That's all I done was eat. And so anyway, we moved. We were in Selvage, and then there was an incident. When you were born, the house in Selvage Street was too
wee.
So then we moved to Cromwell Road to a 4-bedroom house where you all had Lorraine and Michelle were in a room, but Yvonne had a room and you had a room. Well, you were with me in your room. You were too. And that was all he wanted was you. Didn't he want his lassies?
Bizarre that, eh?
It was terrible what he done to the lassies. Michelle, when I had enough patterns and beatings and it was on my head, my face that got it. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. It was always a bit. I punched to stun me. He used to go into my temples, and I was stunned, so he could batter me without me fighting back.
Right.
So eventually, then he started going with this woman, and the reason I found out was you'd started school. And so our wee lassie was in your class at school.
That's right.
You'll know about. You know about all that.
Ken the story for then on,
and then that's when we split up, and I thought, I'm not taking this. So he come home for his work that night, that we caught him out, and I says to him, look, it's finished between you and I, you know that. He says, I'm leaving you anyway. He says, we're going to get a flat together.
Right.
I says, that's fine, but look, I says, but my father was brilliant because my father knew everything. I phoned, tell him what had happened and everything. He says, get the house in your name.
Right.
So when he came home for his work that night, I didn't expect him, but he did come home. And I sat up waiting to see whether he did. He was back shift.
Right.
So anyway, he did come in, and he says, I says to him, look, this isn't working with you now. I am going for and I says, that's fine. I says, because there's nothing left for me here. And he says to me, I says, but it's not the bairns' fault. I says, how do you know just sign the house out to me, at least leave your kids with a roof over their head? Oh, is that all you're wanting? I says, that's all I want nothing else for you. So he sat and he wrote the letter out like and I hot-footed it across to the house and company was and it was a Friday morning, and it was Miss Ince. Now Miss Ince knew me because every time he buggered off and left me, I had to go and ask if I could pay my rent weekly.
Right.
So as I kept a roof over your head. So anyway, we done that, and she says to me when I went with the letter, she says, thank God. She says, the only thing is, she says, I can't do anything about it today. You'll need to come back Monday morning. And I went, okay. I was sweated the whole weekend. He never come back.
Right.
He was away the whole weekend. First thing Monday morning, I was out at the housing company. I got the house on my own name. By lunchtime that day, he was at the door. I'm back, Hen. I says, no, you're no. He says, my effing house. He says, I'm telling you, I'm back. I says, and I'm telling you, you're no. Because the house is no longer yours, the house is mine. It's in my name. Well, I got myself in such a state, I was feared to show him the missive. I says, no, because I was feared to tear it up.
He would
stupid
take. Aye.
because it was stupid because I needed to go across and tell
Get
them
a
at the
copy
housing
for
company.
them, aye.
But I was feared, so I wouldn't show them it. I says, no, if you want to see, I says, I'll be across to the housing company, ask for my sins.
Right.
Whether he did or no, I don't know. But he was away again. I never seen him for nearly a week, and then he come back, put all the windows in,
Aye.
downstairs windows. Michelle was screaming. She was a nervous wreck through him.
Through him, aye.
And she's still, I think that's what things are. She's still the same. She's a nervous lassie, really. Although she would fight with her shadow.
Aye, fighting him.
You know, but it's just like
fight or flight. Aye.
So anyway, she was on the phone screaming, doing it.
Aye.
Because he was doing all this. And the police came. And Mr. Big Man, it was a man and a woman that came, and they're telling me to open the door, and I says, no, I'm not opening the door, he's round the back. We're round the windows in round the back. But he must have heard.
Right.
And he come up the side of the house, seen the policeman on his own with a woman. And I come on, big man, I'll take more than you. Just at that panda car, as they were called then, thing made up at the gate, it was a different kettle of fish then. He turned round and told the police that I had done all that myself.
Right.
He says, I've not done nothing. She's done all that. It wasn't me.
Good mentally.
It was a nut job.
Did they believe you? Oh, that's the thing.
Oh, they believed me.
Aye, they totally.
Your sister was screaming down the phone. He was smashing windows. How did they know hearing me?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know they had heard, but they said, look, me know.
Aye,
you know what it's all about. So that was the end of that.
That was him gone.
My pal took me to the dancing. I couldn't. You were a good age before.
Aye.
Maybe about
so,
6 or 7, was it?
Just before you move on, I just wanted to catch that one thing that you said about him hitting you with an axe earlier on.
That was in Glasgow.
So that was actually in Glasgow, right?
So lucky that day. Do you know what? He came and it was New Year, and we'd been in a next door neighbours.
Aye.
And the next door neighbour, we were having a good time, and then we come in, and just like that, I never done nothing.
Aye. He just turned.
I think he just turned, lifted the axe, and honest to God, as God's my judge, the axe, the blade was coming towards me. How the hell that turned, I'll never know, because it was a blunt end. I was black and blue all the way down.
It's funny, these stories that I've heard over the years, right? Because I sit and I think, and I thought, right, in my head, that the time he hit you with an axe, now bear in mind I'm not even born here.
Oh, that's right.
You know what I mean? I'm not even born, but in my head, in memories over the years, I think I was adamant that he had hit you with an axe the time Yvonne. I've got a recollection of Yvonne on his back pulling his hair.
No, that
in
was
the hall, Cromwell Road.
Cromwell Road.
No. But see, as a Wayne or as an adult piecing it all together, even that was just a story I'd heard.
Aye.
And for some reason, I had linked it to that incident when Yvonne's jumped on his back pulling his hair.
That was him coming back to cause me more trouble.
Aye.
He was drunk.
Yeah.
And he was wanting back with us.
Aye.
And I wouldn't have him back.
Right.
And he asked me to, he could give me a light for my fag at least.
Aye.
Like a mug. Got a box of matches to hand out to him, and he shoved the door in.
Aye.
And he's punched me.
Right, yeah.
Yvonne was there, and she jumped on his back. In fact, Yvonne hit him with a carpet sweeper.
Right.
She hit him across the back. It stunned him. She jumped on his back and pulled his hair. Well, he tried to stick the heat in her.
Aye.
And I grabbed him, and I lifted him.
Aye.
Man, as you know.
Aye.
I threw him right out, and he landed in the garden, in a bush.
Aye, the rose bushes and that were out the front, weren't it? Aye.
He landed in that. And we slammed the door, obviously, and we phoned the police then.
Right.
But he was just a madman.
Madman with a drink, eh? Never any excuse, just always alcohol.
There was nothing, because I'd be in the house, I'd be in my bed,
and
just because of these other women that upset him when he was out. He came home and took it on me. For what reason? I don't know.
hard
you
that
were
you...
born,
Aye,
when you were born, Amy, and you'll know who I'm talking about, the stave-facing Lorraine.
right.
When you were born, I couldn't walk after you were born because of the change of birth.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes the change of birth
Aye.
knocks you a bit, and I couldn't walk properly. And I was weak. It wasn't that there was anything physically, it was just I was weak.
Aye.
I couldn't even go into the cooperative. We stayed in the salvage place at the time. I couldn't even go into the cooperative. And coming back, and the first time I managed to get round with your pram, round to the cooperative, I met this woman who went to the club, and she says to me, "Have you not got rid of him yet?" She says, "He's gone with Mrs. whatever her name was." You'll know who I'm talking about. No, you'll know who it is. And she says, "I'll even show you where they do their courting." She says, and pointed to where I was doing the side, that Elaine, the
side of the court.
Aye. And I just had his son.
Mentally.
So, I mean, it took a while. There was nothing I could do about it, but once I got to Cromwell Road, I thought, you're 35-year-old, looked in the mirror, I was covered in bruises, my face was covered in bruises, and that was me finished.
Done.
I swore blind.
So you got the missive signed, you got the house, you got him to fuck.
I got him out the road, and that was it. And then, as I say, the best laugh I got was, no, it wasn't through that, but it was once he was away, he's were all sitting on the couch, the whole lot, you being a wee bairn, like. And I says, so it was after it, I couldn't stop laughing. After it, and I says, don't worry, bairns, we'll never look back now. We'll never eat cheaply again. We'll be getting steak.
We'll be getting steak mince.
Instead of cheap stuff.
Steak mince,
I couldn't believe it after I'd said that. You were all looking at me waiting in a big ta-da.
It's funny because I remember one time getting chicken and saying it's not even Christmas. How are we getting chicken? It's no Christmas.
I had to go to, I obviously had to work. So I had to take a job and...
So the story there is, do not fucking put up with shit like that for 18 years.
18 years I put up
Don't
with
put up with it for 18 minutes. The minute somebody does something like it, that is just the start.
That's how I've said to my daughters. Because I would hit their men if they lifted their hands to them. If they ever come around to me and says to me, he hit me, I'd be up there. I'd do time for them.
It's
Never would I let anybody do that to my family.
No.
Never,
it's fucking
ever.
brutal.
He was a rat, an absolute rat.
Yeah.
Mind you, he's still alive. My mother always told me, oh, he'll get his comeuppance, and I'm still waiting. I think that's how I've lived so long.
He's probably getting it now that he's on his own. He's not got anybody.
Well, I always say to people, this is true, and I'll still say it. At one time, he had the glitter, but I ended up with the gold. Because I've got all my own family. I've got all my grandchildren. I've got my great-grandchildren. One of his grandsons was a professional footballer. His lasses, yourself, all got done well. He's all done well for yourself. And that was... And he had no say in it because he never paid a penny for you. No. He wasn't interested. He used to take you away for the... You were 11 when you stopped going to his. And it was
but that was the thing. It was like a token gesture with him.
Because he never looked after
No,
you.
it was always whatever squeeze he was with that was looking after me, and that was part of the reason why I stopped going, because I was like,
He was
am I doing
married to
here?
Evelyn then.
I was getting left in the house with whoever, Kerry, Evelyn, whatever, and I was just like, nah, this is shite. And it was, I think that's why I stopped going, really.
But then I had to say to you, you'll have to tell him yourself, because he'll say I've been putting things in your head, you know. Thing. But I mean, there was numerous...
I hardly seen him after that. I mean, I seen him, but it was...
Well, he went with that wife. And
there was always promises, but nothing ever fucking transpired with me.
See the woman that he went with that worked in the market hall in Kirkcaldy? She had 2 sons. You were in her house. You were in your house because he phoned me up and told me you jumped out the window and you must have come home or something.
No, I can't
But
imagine.
you weren't coming home to me.
Aye.
I don't know where you live. Might have been in
Jumped
Edinburgh
out the
at the
window. I
time.
wouldn't have jumped out a fucking window. I'd have
No, it
walked
was a
out the
low
door.
down. No, it was a low down.
No, but I'd have walked out the door, eh?
But
Didn't ever recall
she
jumping
had
out any
she had
windows.
2 sons
Aye.
in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to hit her.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't there long.
It wasn't there long.
No, because the boys freaked the shit out.
Can't mind that woman's name, but...
No, I can't mind it either.
Anyway, you moved on for fucking him. You got a shot of that. When did life start again for you then? You're 35, just got rid of him and you've got us 4 Waynes sitting on the couch
Aye.
getting the promise of steak mince.
Steak mince. I think you all thought you were going to get something when there was a drum roll.
Oh, fuck, when we getting it? Okay. Probably what an Action Men and Dollies, and you're telling us we're getting mince.
Oh, we get.
Yo, dancer.
But as I say, I had to work. I had to get people in to look after you. I had to. In fact, I was working before because he wasn't giving me the money because I had to work. I was working before all that in Phillips.
Phillips,
At night, I went a night out in Phillips. This is when we were in Selvage Place, and I had to borrow clothes off my mother to go out. So anyway, he was quite happy to stay in and watch us. So rather than overspending the money, I had it, stupid me, had it in the house where I thought he wouldn't find it.
Right.
So I had that, and when I come home, he was in. We'd went, after we'd been out for a ladies' night out, we'd went up to a pal's house and we'd had a good laugh and everything like that. Myra Boyle was with me. Her man came and picked us up and he says, Gina, I've come to warn you. He says, he's gone off his head.
Right.
I says, what for? He says, well, I'm going to tell you he's threw all your clothes out in the front garden. I says, oh, has he? Well, I went into the house and he started to batter me and I had to run out. He'd been out drinking, he'd found my money that I'd put away and he'd been left you on the house yourselves and had been out.
Right.
My one and only time I got out and he took the money, spent it. He must have raked and raked and raked to fun it. I thought I'd been that smart. I hadn't it. However, I ran down to Myra Boyle's. Hetty Brown and that was all. The place was turned out. She phoned across to Myra Boyle's. Don't let Jean come out that house. He's standing in wait where. She said he's ripped a paling off of somebody's fence. And there's a great big nail sticking out it. Wait to thing. Wait till the police come. And then the police made out to the police that I was a good time girl, that I was out while he'd been watching the rains and
crazy, yeah. Fucking crazy.
So
anyway, you got rid of him.
I did.
And
when I was 35.
And we're at Cromwell Road at this point.
Yep. Remember
it well. So where did you go for there in your life?
Well, mind, I don't really like mentioning other folks' names on this, and I keep doing
you don't have to.
But he had says to me, it was the mother of the lassie. Why don't you go out for a night out with? And I went, I've got nobody to watch the bairns and everything. So then said, well, I'll watch the bairns and you and my mother go out. So they were a lot older than me.
Right.
So I went out with them and we had a good time. So the next time Mary says, I'll watch them and you can go out with Marion as well. And
Marion's no longer with us now anyway, is she?
Aye, Mary's no.
Mary's no. I thought you were on about Marion Goldriff. Alright.
Marion's fine. She's only in her 60s, Marion, unless...
Oh, I ken who I'm thinking of. Maureen Gresty.
Oh, I know.
That's your... Anyway, sorry.
So when I went out and we were sitting back to back with Jimmy.
Hunt.
And his pal. But I didn't know them, but Marion did. So she was talking to them. And this boy came to ask me to dance. And I wasn't fancying the look of him, but I got up with him the first time
Aye.
because you didn't sort of say no to folk.
Yeah.
I was too no used to things like that. I mean, I was young when I went to the dance, and I'm 35-year-old thinking this is terrible, me going to dancing and things like that. And I says thanks very much and come off the dance floor. A wee while later he come back and I says to him no thanks. And he was a great, and I says no thanks. So he lifted me onto the dance floor with my ears.
Oh yeah. Fuck.
So I danced with him that time, and when I come off the flare again, I says, look, I'll need to go to the toilet. I come off the flare again, and I says to Marion, I'm lifting my bag, Marion. I'm going to the toilet. Will you bring my coat? I says, because I'm going home. I says, I'm feared of him.
Warning signals straight away.
I says, I'm feared of him. I says, I'm going home. So she says to me, aye, okay. Hun, what's wrong? And I says, oh, that big character there. I says, I'm feared of him. I says, I'm going. Well, as I say, I didn't know him very well. He says, where do you stay? And I told him. And I looked at the size of him. And I looked at the size of the guy. And I went, no, you're all right. No, he says, I says, no, you're no match for that. And he says to me, see all the boys sitting there? No, the Burnside boys was sitting. He says, they'll just need to do that, he says, and he'll be sorted out all right. He says, just stay, he says, and I'll walk you down the road. I says, okay then, so I stayed. Well, obviously, and he got me up and everything like that, so he stayed and he walked me to the gate, and I said, thanks very much, blah, blah, blah. You back out again? I says, well, I don't know, it depends, I need to get the kids watched, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but this time Yvonne was old enough to watch us, and I went out. And he says to me, I'll get you down the road. I says, aye, okay. But he was dancing with other people and I was dancing with other people and get you down the road. Aye, okay. So that's what we done for the first month or so. And then it came to, I says to him, do you want to come in for a cup of coffee? Because I felt he was hanging about the gate like a bad smell. I thought I better say something. You want to come in for a cup of coffee? So I come in. Had a cup of coffee, but I didn't know how to make coffee, did I? Because I didn't drink it.
Didn't drink it,
I always knew my father took 2 big heap spoonfuls of his coffee, so I done that. And
maybe Jimmy had a Melo Birds moment into the plant pot.
He was sitting, sipping it and putting it down. And I says to him, that'll be called, do you want me to heat it up? No thanks. So he left. And then it just started
for there,
he came round one night and asked me to go out with him, and just started for there. I must admit, it was, if he'd have lived, we'd have been 40 years married in the 9th of October there.
That's right.
So that's really my life up to now.
Up to now with Jimmy. The best part of your life.
Best part of my life.
There's nothing really negative to say about it.
A good man. I was the biggest wage earner. That didn't matter.
Didn't matter
to me. It didn't. It bothered him a wee bit at first, and I says, look, the money goes into the bank, so it's in joint names. So who gives a shit whether I earn more? Because I worked in the office. I started off as a cleaner in the dockyard, and sat it wasn't a big exam, but maybe an apprentice would thing, but I had to sit an exam because they had to see how you wrote, how you could count, how you spelt things, because you were writing things. There was no computers then. Everything was all handwritten, so you were writing things that had to be legible. If you were counting somebody's, like if the boys went away to work at Faz Lane or something like that, you had to be able to put a percentage in for them living away. A percentage of this, that or whatever.
Now for somebody that didn't want to talk on this, again, that's about an hour and 5 minutes.
Is that me finished now?
Well, I usually stop them at about an hour, but if you want to crack on, you can crack on.
I'm quite happy to stop.
Aye, because I'm conscious you've not had your tea.
I've no.
Because it took me so long to get all this set up.
Aye.
And then the giggles for. So, on a parting note, if you, in your 80 years of being on this planet, Mum, if you were to give folk advice, just a generalisation, no for anything like troubles that you've had, just if you were to give anybody one piece of advice at the age you are now, what would that piece of advice be?
Don't get married.
Don't get married.
Don't get married.
Seriously?
They're all happy the way you are.
Right.
Because I've known people to get married.
This is the fucking last thing I expected you to say, by
No,
the way. But
don't get married. I've known people
Aye.
that get married,
Aye.
been together for 8 years or so, got married, didn't last a year.
Right.
I've got a granddaughter that got married, same thing happened.
Wow.
Only she was maybe about a year. So my advice would be, don't do it
Not
as
to
long
me.
as you're happy.
I'm not looking for the advice, by the way.
No.
Generally.
Oh,
So
that's
if it's
saying.
no broken, don't fix it. If you're no married, then you didn't need to be. Just don't
What's
get
a bit of
married.
paper? What I would say though
Aye.
is in later years, when you're in maybe late 40s and 50s and everything's all worked out, and you are still very happy and all the rest of it, what I would say, stick in there, hen, because you'll need the pension money.
Then get married.
Not get married just before they pop their clogs.
Before they pop their clogs.
That's
Fair
terrible
enough.
saying that, but no.
But no,
Honestly,
that's a
you
good
can
bit of
cut that
advice.
bit out.
No, they didn't cut nothing out of this, by the way. Nothing at all. Partly because of dicking out. Look how long it took me to set the fucker up.
Or maybe
So-
you noticed.
Eh?
How do you know whether it's worked?
I know, but well, we'll find out. We'll find out when I piece it all together later on.
When I'm like healing Mary on the phone.
Aye. I'll send you the YouTube link.
Oh no, I didn't, but I don't want to see
You
myself.
didn't want to see yourself. Oh well. So the one piece of advice is don't get married.
I
That's
would
it.
say so.
Out of 80 years of your life, that's the one fucking bit
And
of
I've been
advice.
married twice.
Fair enough. Aye. First time wrong, second time right. Aye. All right. So Alan and I usually finish off. I'll say something like fucking adios amigo at the end, but I usually play it out with us, and then at the end you can have a wee cheerio, say whatever you like.
The Fly Fifer Podcast. Let's talk your chat your way.
Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Adios amigo.